You're listening to Life Check Yourself with life coach, transformational leader, and dating and relationship badass, Marni Batista. Every week, you'll get the raw truth from top experts and real people on the important life and love issues you want to know about. So, if you're ready to life check yourself in your relationships, your career, and the areas of your life that matter most to you, and you're not afraid to be called out on your, stuff, then you're ready for what's next.
Life Check Yourself with Crystal Ware. Are you holding yourself back by not believing in your dreams? Well, ladies, you're going to love the show. So my next guest and I, we had a first date like a month or so ago. And I got to be on her podcast and she was amazing. And I was like, oh my God, I totally want to go on another date with you. And so here she is on our show and she is amazing. Welcome, Crystal Ware, to the show. She is redefining what it means to become your best self in business, life, and love. She is an attorney and former Fortune 500 corporate badass leader who realized that she wanted more from life, and she ripped off the Band-Aid. She quit her job, turned her former employer into her first client, brilliant, and started her own business. And she learned that everything you need to build your dream life is already within you. And as I said, I got to be on her podcast that she recently launched so that she can inspire women like you to do the same. So welcome. I'm so happy that you're here.
Thank you. And like all girls, whether I like you or not, I still want to be invited on a second date. So I'm glad you like me and you invited me on a second date.
Oh, that's so true. It's so true. I love that. So let's talk. I just want to even just jump right into your story a little bit, because I think that moment of like ripping the Band-Aid off is one thing. I want to know, like, was it hard to let yourself even feel the feels, admit, own, acknowledge that this was not where you wanted to be? Because I assume it looked great on the outside, just the awareness part of it. What was that like for you?
Yeah, it was really difficult because I, for the most part, enjoyed my career. I enjoyed the people I was working with. I certainly loved the pay that I was getting and having that steady, nice paycheck, everything that went around that. But like a lot of women over the period of COVID, when I was at home with my kids, trying to manage all of that, plus working, it just opened my eyes to ask the big questions and think and dive deep and say, what do I really want my life to look like? What do I really want to pour and invest into? And I decided that I really wanted it to be more pouring and investing into myself instead of a company with 100,000 other employees.
And that's amazing. I think, it's interesting. I was watching Oprah today on TikTok, which was amazing. She does TikTok apparently, but she was talking about how for the pandemic, she didn't leave her house for like 322 days.
Wow.
That's amazing, right?
I would die.
I know, right? And she's just starting to go out, which is, wow, Oprah. The reason I bring that up is because I think that it's easy to forget how profoundly that time impacted all of us. And for some, like you did something about it. And for other people, they're like, la, 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 that didn't happen. Let me just now go travel and go back to the gym and go to yoga and just get really busy. And because I'm too afraid to change anything. How do you get from the reflection of what I could change into actually being an action around it and not just covering yourself up?
Well, for me, it really started with, rooting into who I was, what I wanted out of life, and the legacy and the impact that I wanted to make and leave, and realizing that it was really going to be hard to achieve something greater. The more that I felt I was called to do, just working in a big company. And I wasn't going to be the CEO. I was probably not going to be the general counsel. And I don't have a finance background, so I probably wasn't going to be the CFO. So where was I really headed? I had to reflect on that and say, at the end of the day, today is good, tomorrow is fine. But in 10 years, what does that leave me with? And it wasn't the warm and
Yeah.
fuzzy feelings that I was seeking. It wasn't the ultimate, oh my God, I love my life so much. And I did love my life, my day life, my family, everything else was great, but I wasn't getting that full satisfaction. And I just had to start asking the hard questions of myself and really reading. Reading is powerful for me, and seeing what other people are doing and how you can get that inspiration and how you can get that courage. And naturally, I'm a risk averse person. So it was not that easy.
That's amazing.
Yeah, it was,
That's
but
amazing.
it started with asking the deep questions. And then from there, it moved into, okay, these are the feelings that I'm looking for. How can I end there? How can I progress myself to the place that I want to be with actionable steps? And to be honest,
Mm.
I started working with a business coach that really acts more as a life coach for me. And that helped break away some of the stereotypes that I had of my own self, and not just saying, okay, I know that I want to go somewhere different, but where that was headed. And that helped a lot in defining my vision for my life and my goals and how I was going to actually go about achieving them.
Okay, there's like 5 things I want to highlight here. Well, one is this, that it requires help, like support. I think that for women who are very ambitious and successful, especially working like you're in a probably most is law still mostly dominated by men? Is that true?
I would
Still?
say it's like 65 to 70%. So
30%.
yes.
Yeah. And I think a lot of ladies who are listening work in some of those industries. And so it's really interesting to say to yourself, I don't need to know it all. I don't need to be it all. I have to sort of like slow it down and ask, where is it that I want to be? And the second thing I want to really highlight, which I think is really brilliant that everyone listening should do, is be brave enough to ask the question, what is my life going to look like in 10 years? Because we have the illusion of time. I think the older you get, because now I'm in my mid 50s, the older I get, the less that illusion stands. But when I talk to women in their 30s and 40s, and then they start to get, older, right? It's like, wait a minute, like this last 10 years went really quickly, right? So what do I want to say happened, right, in this next decade? And so I just really give you so much credit for asking the hard questions. So let me ask you this. So as part of this, when you started to think about the impact that I want to make, and you said I'm not going to have this career, and I'm not going to have that, and I'm not going to have this, it doesn't mean that I'm not deserving or worthy or capable, right? It's about really like owning your own worth and realizing that you get to have whatever it is that you desire. So how can women who are listening start to recognize the value that they have, their worthiness, that they are capable of creating what it is that maybe is sitting on their heart, just kind of like afraid to be born?
Yeah. So it starts with the self-belief, which can be difficult if that was not poured into you as a child. And while I grew up, I call it, and I don't know if my parents have ever heard me say this, they might be slightly offended, but I call it barely middle class, because it's true. I mean, we were just getting by a lot of times. So I didn't have people shepherd me into career and ideas and sports. Like everything that I did was my idea. But what my parents and my grandparents did is poured in a lot of belief in me that I could really do. So when I came up with these crazy ideas, and my parents were young parents, they were 22 when I was born, they're high school sweethearts. And they would just say, where did this child come from? Sure, you can do that. And they would just tell me that I could do it, and they would find a way for me to do stuff. And so I did have that advantage. And I know that not everybody comes with that. I have seen that with other family members who come from the same family, and they don't have that built-in self-belief. But you have to find a way, whether it's looking in the mirror every day, having affirmations, educating yourself on what it is you want to do, so that you have that knowledge that gives you some confidence. But a lot of times, even for me, people look at me and think, wow, you do so much and you can do anything that you want. I do believe that is true, but there are times like public speaking I almost passed out in law school doing a presentation at a court with 5 other judges. It wasn't even a big audience. And I literally, and when I tell people that, they're so surprised because I seem so confident. And I
Right.
am, but I just share that to say, even the most confident people have weaknesses. And I just constantly have to tell myself and reiterate, I can do anything. And I think the way that we do that, besides, affirmations and looking in the mirror and surrounding ourselves with people that also believe
Yep.
in us, that's very important. But it's just doing something. So whether, you want to eventually run a marathon, start by running 3 miles. And when you see that you can do it, you will believe that you can do more. So it starts with just making a decision to take small actions to build your confidence. And before you knew it, that muscle has strengthened and you have big guns.
I love this. One of the things that I was talking about, I did a virtual retreat last weekend, and I was talking about that courage comes before the commitment, because the courage is to say, like, I think I want to try running, or I think I want to learn how to dance, or I think I want to start going out and talking to men, right? Or I want to ask this guy that I've been dating where this is going, like, we have to have the courage, and then we can have that, that commitment to really, really following through. And the courage to decide is
Yeah,
sometimes the hardest piece, right?
absolutely. And that's why I kind of build, when I talk to women, I kind of build it upon what I call the 3 C's. It's clarity, getting clear on what you actually want to do and
Yep.
asking those hard questions, building the confidence to take action, and then the courage to actually take the action.
Do it.
Those are the 3 C steps that you really got to focus on. And it's not really magic. It's a pretty simple protocol, to be
It's
honest.
not magic. It's funny. I was just talking to a client who just was starting to do this work, and more in the life coaching realm than the dating realm. And her employer left a situation, and he went off to start his own thing. And her employer is not kind. It's a super toxic work environment. She's worked there for 20 years, and it would require her moving. And like intellectually, she's like, why would I ever do that? Right. But the part of her that's afraid to do her own thing, the part that is familiar with that kind of situation, because that's what her childhood was like. Right. We talked about, like, where is the internal shift to say, like, I don't need to keep recreating from the patterns of that lack of belief in myself. Right. And that, I think that's the thing to say, is like, that's the defining moment. Like, because what you said is so profound. Like, you make it look so easy, Crystal. You just did that, right? Like, everything's easy for you. And people don't understand that fear, that moment of talking in front of people or whatever it is, even though you have that belief that your parents instilled in you. Like, there's some reason that we're scared, but we have to overcome the prison of our past, right? Or the prison of our dysfunctional motivation, right? And really be in the space of creation. So would you say that because people get so caught up in fear that they can't even have clarity? Because I hear people saying, like, if I say, well, what else would you want to do? Or what would it be like if you didn't have to go to that crappy job? Or what would it be like if you could be in a healthy relationship or be fit? They'd be like, I don't know. Like, I couldn't even imagine it. How does, I don't know, deal with needing to get clarity? What do you do to bridge the gap?
Yeah. Well, and one, I will go back to what you were just talking about. It's the iceberg impact, right? I mean, there's really no more better visual than that. You just see this perfect, it's kind of like the social media. We have the highlight reels, but you don't know what all is going on. And
Right.
that, I think that's the case for, I would say 90% of successful people. They make it look easy because they've worked so hard at it. 10% of people, they are maybe kind of magical, but most people are not. So I think that's what people have to realize. And then when it comes to that fear holding you back from even clarity, it's absolutely true, because I talk to a lot of people that can't even verbalize their true and real feelings and desires and dreams because they're afraid of speaking that out and having something out there that they don't think is ever possible, and the judgment that they might get. And again, we look at our own selves. We have to do our own work. And that's why you're so great at what you do, because you've done the work too. When somebody asked me one day, well, what's your ultimate goal? And it took me a minute to think. It came right to my head, but could I actually say this? The fear. And I just decided, I just chose that I was going to say it. And whether or not it's real or possible, that's not for anybody else to judge. It's just, what is my goal? I mean, my goal would be to be, an Oprah type person. My personal vision is to inspire others to live, love, and grow. And I want to bring those stories and bring that impact to people, just as Oprah has. That's lofty. And people could stand around and say, well, everybody wants that. Okay. But that, you asked me, and that's my real true feelings. And that's immediately what came to my mind.
And it's so brave. I mean, and it's not brave, like brave, haha. Like, that's funny that you think that. No, it's because so here's the thing, like, it doesn't matter. So so in my wise 56, almost up 57 years, what I've realized is, the journey is like as important, if not more important, than the actual getting there, because I have always wanted to traditionally publish a book, literally since I was 10 years old. Like I used to write stories in my notebook, and I have worked on this in some variety my whole life. And in December, I got a book deal. Right. And I remember the moment where I was like, oh my God. Right. And then literally like 5 minutes later, I was like, oh shit. Now I have to write it. What if I don't sell it? Oh my God. Right. What if I don't sell it? What if nobody wants to listen? And so it's the journey, right? Like all the growing and learning I did to get there. And now I'm in a whole new level, new devil, and learning new skills and learning and creating new beliefs. Right. And I really want people to know, like, don't be afraid of that big dream, because the journey to get there is going to be like, woohoo. And then like, let's say you're Oprah, right? And then you're like, well, now I have a TV show and I live in Chicago and I have been going for 30 years. Well, now what am I going to do? Do I want to do that? Right. It's the belief in the dream will carry you, and it's not the panacea. So why not just go for it? The journey is so much more ripe when you're like out there.
And you learn
squishy, overripe avocado.
Absolutely. And you learn more when you have some failure. I mean, I've definitely had failure along the way. I had a lot of doors slammed in my face, but I tell people this when I'm talking about like career development, and why not? If you can fit it in, even though it might not be the perfect job opportunity, the more you go, when you have an opportunity to negotiate a job, when you have an opportunity to hear what an interviewer is going to ask you, all of those things are learning opportunities. So go for it. Do it, try all the things. And if you fail a few times, you'll learn, you'll sharpen the knife, and you'll get back out there. Most people have several failures before they hit the big time. And and your goal might not be to hit the big time, and that's okay too. But you do need to try stuff. So if it's just like getting out and running, I want to be able to run 1 mile a day. For some people, that might be a difficult journey to think about. You're going to have failing days. And then all of a sudden you're going to show up and wow, I ran a mile.
Yeah. It's just, it's really powerful. Like to understand that, and I have been on this radical living challenge for like 1.5 years in my own life. And really for myself, understanding that the growth is coming from the things that don't work, right? From the pieces that, and having to like confront all of that. And so I just really love that you're talking about, one step at a time makes it totally doable and achievable. And when I think of the work you're doing, Crystal, I think like you're out there and like, I went and I looked at the gorillas in Uganda like many years ago, and you go with a guide, right? And he's in front of you and he's got like this giant ass machete. And he's like looking for gorillas, and he's like literally like, because you walk on an uncharted path like you did, like we're wanting people to be inspired to do, right? And so Crystal's like the guide with the like machete, like, oh, you don't believe in yourself? Let's deal with that. Oh, you're afraid to ask for more? Why? Let's talk about that, And then before you know it, there you are, and you're looking at a gorilla.
Yeah. And sometimes you just need a cheerleader, right? Like that is, some people just need, and I talk about also sometimes with people, How it's okay if the people around you, the people that you love, even your spouse, if they don't believe, they can't see where you want to head, they
Yeah.
may come across a little bit negative to start, and not taking that personally and just doing the thing you want to do. Because if people don't understand something, they want the best for you. So they're going to have some fear about, where is this going to take you? How are you going to handle the rejection? How are you going to handle the failure? So they want to protect you. And in doing so, they kind of pull you back from doing it. Don't let that happen. Find somebody that believes in you, that can be your cheerleader, because I really and truly believe that most of us can achieve 99% of the things that we want in our hearts. I mean, if you want to be, a rocket scientist, okay, and you're not planning to go back to school, that may be a stretch. but
Right,
other things,
exactly.
most things, that's why I always say 99%, because there might be that 1%. Well,
Right. that you
there's some
can't-
technical reasons why, but I really do believe that. And so you just have to find a person, whether it's a coach, a friend, a former teacher, whoever it can be around you, to talk you through that and give you the confidence, especially as women. We do so much better talking to people. Men are a little bit better, fine to keep it to themselves. We don't talk about what we're doing. We don't talk about what's our stress, whatever. But women, I think, need that feedback and need to share and need to hear that. So I just think that's really, really important. And I would encourage everybody to find somebody that they can be totally and utterly themselves and ask for support. I'm very lucky that I have a good group of girlfriends who I say crazy stuff to them sometimes. I mean, all the good, the bad, and the ugly. They've seen it, they know it, they hear it, and we talk about it. And it's a grounding for me to know that I can be truly who I am and who I, in all forms of shape, and there's not going to be judgment there.
Yeah, that's so true. Like I always say, trust the process. And if you can't trust the process, then find someone to trust, right? Like it's a coach, it's a friend, it's until you can trust yourself, right? Or you can trust the actual process itself. So that's huge. Okay. I have to ask you, I want to make sure we have time for this, because there's so many women who work. We even have women who are like single moms and working. And the fear of inviting someone else into their life and still getting to do their own dream is really scary. I think so many women are like, well, if I get a relationship or if I get into this, like, especially if they had something negative, they did have that person who wasn't supportive, like I won't be able to really fulfill my dreams. And you are married, you are both working, you have 3 kids, you launched something new. Like, how do you stay in that self-care and fulfill your individual dream while also kind of working on the shared dream that you and your husband have of your relationship and your family?
So I will take it back a little bit and say, I mentioned that my parents were high school sweethearts. That comes with a lot, right? They were just learning who they were when they started out. And so seeing their marriage progress, and then as I got older, hearing occasionally both of them complaining about each other,
Right.
about certain things and about their habits, it was very clear to me that when I got in a relationship, I needed to be upfront right away about what my expectations were and what I was going to do and not do. For example, I made it very clear I don't like doing dishes. Okay. I just don't
Yep.
do the dishes. I don't want to do the dishes. I love cleaning. I don't want to do the dishes, but things like that. And then the more important things about like my career orientation and how I felt that, for 2 working people, having kids needs to be, shared responsibilities.
Yeah.
And so I kind of laid that groundwork early. So for people that are dating, I think there's soft ways to talk about that. I mean, you probably have much more technical things to say than I do.
Right.
But soft ways of talking about that don't make people defensive, and then just kind of really get it clear. And if you start seeing signs, like I remember going on a date with a guy when I was in law school, and he was a partner at a law firm already, not one that I was working for, by the way.
Yeah.
But he, on our second date, was asking me questions about like, oh, so how many kids do you want to have? And da, 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 da. I was not ready for that. It was feeling like he wanted me to be a stay-at-home mom, and we were on a second date. I'm like,
Yeah,
I
yeah,
am in
yeah.
law school. I am a career lady. So it was just not going to go. We were clearly not on the wavelength.
Good for him though, honestly, for like
Yeah,
putting it out there, because you're not his match and you knew
no,
that. And so I love that for both of you.
right. It was very clear. And I think you have to be confident in yourself to be alone and happy so that you can be clearly sharing your expectations. But that's what we kind of did. And then my husband is he's a doer. He's just a doer. And that is what I needed to, as a match. So we have, if I wrote it down, would it be exactly 50-50 on the kids stuff? I mean, there's certain things that me as a mom, it's just what I want to do,
Right.
but it's a lot of shared responsibility. And then he takes on a lot too. And he has a much more fancy and big career than I do even. And he still, is in it, and he wants to see me succeed, and he wants to see me,
Mhm.
really live out my dreams. And he makes that possible. Like, when I traveled to Europe and other stuff, when I had babies, and I felt comfortable enough, honestly, more comfortable with him, even though my parents are very supportive. But just him knowing the routine and everything. So he would make his travel schedule around mine, and it just worked out. And I do think that if it's meant to be and it's the right fit,
Right.
you can talk about those things and it should come together without a ton of friction. We
I
certainly
love
have,
that.
we have friction in other places. We're both super type A argumentative people. So we still have friction. But I don't shy away from confrontation.
Yeah. I mean, I think one thing that's really important. So I recently, created some presence on TikTok. And so I was talking on there about like early on, first or second date, telling someone, I'm here for a serious relationship. I want to have a family, like having those expectations. And there's so many people on there who were like, don't give away everything. They'll just tell you what, you want to hear, blah, blah, blah. And so I want to really say this loud and clear, because you just demonstrated it and you said it. You say what it is you're looking for, and you have the belief that you are worth it. And then you listen to the behavior, right? You listen to how that person shows up over time, and you see if it's a match, right? And I think that it's understanding that the dating process, the process of building a relationship, is seeing how that person really shows up for you over time. And you still might get disappointed or hurt. However, when you walk around like guarded and closed off, it's really hard to you're not being who you are, right? And so I love that you were like, I'm confident. This is what I want. I'm a career woman. I also want to have kids. And you found this person who can meet you there because you saw him. I assume you saw him show up that way long before you had kids.
Absolutely. And you just have to be, like you said, so authentic in who you are. And if you don't say it, you have an opportunity cost. I always say opportunity cost because I've been in business so long, and there's an opportunity cost to everything. There's an opportunity cost to dating. If you keep dating somebody that in your heart is really not the right person, all those days and time, you could be meeting the right person. So that
Yes.
trap, and I talked to my friends about that. I'm not a relationship therapist at all, but it's just like an obvious thing to me. And I've said that to my friends when they were disappointed about a relationship not working out. I'm like, look, you knew it wasn't the right thing. You need
And
to
that's
move
the
on.
thing. Yes. And that's so, and if I could like scream to the rooftops of TikTok, I'd be like, there are probably signs along the way and you just didn't listen, because of the same thing we were talking about at the beginning is fear, right? I'm too afraid. I'm afraid I won't find anything better. I'm afraid he won't like me. I'm afraid I'll be alone. I'm afraid because I'm not worth it. And I'm not a powerful woman who deserves it all. And so I think if I could say like a takeaway from our conversation today is that fear is there and it will not serve you. So how are you going to get out of your own way?
And I'd like to add,
please, yes,
for your specific audience, that if your fear is age, okay, and dating,
yes,
and age, I can tell you, my great grandpa found a love at 85 years old at the old folks home. Okay. They ended up not getting married because I think he was ultimately a little worried about my grandmother and my great uncle, and their perception of what that would be at 85. But he had his girlfriend for 3 or 4 years, until I can't remember who passed away first, but they were like inseparable. So love can come at all ages and all stages. And again, I believe in that so strongly that, your time will come, and just don't worry about it. The saddest thing to me is settling and not being ultimately fulfilled. Because I just want people to be happy. I really believe in happiness and that it's out there, and we can find more than we think we're worth in happiness. We just have to believe it.
Woo! This is an episode that you should favorite and save and listen to when you're like, shit, nothing's going my way, right? Crystal and I are here to champion you and believe in yourself and be brave. Thank you so much for being here. This is an amazing second date. I just adore you. And everything that you share and everything that you stand for. And I am very glad that you had the courage to leave corporate law and bring your gift out into the world so that so many people who need to hear it can listen. So congratulations on all that you're creating, Crystal. And ladies, okay, this episode was chock full of opportunities to life check yourself. So listen, re-listen, share it with a friend. Where can you grow? Where do you need some support? Also, you can find us on TikTok at Dating with Dignity. You can find us on Instagram at Dating with Dignity, datingwithdignity.com. And if you want to find Crystal, where can you go find some Crystal love? Where can we listen to your show too?
It's Get Clear with Crystal Ware, pretty much everywhere that you can listen to podcasts, Apple, Spotify, Google. I'm just a new little virgin on Instagram with Crystal Ware _ Get Clear. And I'm also on LinkedIn pretty regularly as Crystal Ware Risk Strategist. So
I love it. Go find her, check her out. All that info is going to be in the show notes. Make sure you watch us on YouTube. Also, I'm doing the pitch, the pump. We need to get, I think, like 2,000 viewer hours or something on YouTube for the algorithm to do some other stuff. And so we want to get this support out as much as we can. So go watch us on YouTube, give us a subscribe, share it with your friends. Life check yourself. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye. Hey, thanks for tuning into today's show. So if being in an intimate relationship in which you feel 100% seen, heard, and accepted by a high caliber man is a priority for you right now, and you're interested in seeing if you're a fit for working with me and my team at Dating with Dignity, here's what I want you to do. Just head over to DWD VIP, that's D as in dating, W, D as in dating, VIP.com, and book a call to speak with my team. We'll get on the phone with you for about 60 minutes, and you'll get crystal clear on what's stopping you from finding true love right now. We'll also take a look at what you want to create, what you want your whole life to look like when you're able to finally be fully expressed as a woman in a healthy relationship with an incredible guy. And if we can help you get from where you are right now to where you want to be, we will show you the fastest path possible that makes sense for you to do that. We help smart, successful women all over the world solve this one missing piece in their life so they can finally have it all. So to see if we can help you do the same thing, head over to DWDVIP.com. I'm Marni Batista, and let's talk soon.